Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Joydeep Shodangi, Jogesh Chandra Chaudhary College, University of Calcutta, Kolkata. Friends, we are into module 15 where we are to look in the contribution of William Langland, and this module is prepared by Dr. Kalyani Dikshit, who teaches English in a college in Lucknow. Friends, in this particular module, we are going to look at how Langland was placed in literature during his own time. We are to assess the contribution of William Langland at different forms and propositions in the context of his time in the history of English literature. We are also to note down what way he made contribution and which text really keeps us getting attracted to the literary discourses of the time. So, on the whole, we are to assess the position of William Langland and his contributions in the literary context and the historical point of view. Friends, William Langland or Langley was a famous poet of the 14th century England. But the critics are not sure about the date of his birth and death. As per Legouis and Kejamian, two very important critics of the time, critics of our generation working on the time, in office about 1330 is 6 years after Wycliffe and 10 years before Chaucer. We get very little information about William Langland's life and his appearance from his own works. He hailed from farmer class, the lower strata of life. Malvern and London were two most important cities for his life, where he studied and worked. Critics believe that probably he was a scholar and curious learner, but not a steady student. To quote, "They were left to learn, but loth for to study," unquote. In his works, he depicted himself as a student of French, Latin, and classics. He lived the life of a seer, a prophet after Isha's own heart. If we may judge by the prophecy, we soon find Piers Plowman. William Long, page 81. In his poems, he portrayed himself as a tall, gaunt figure dressed in long black gown with large folds, striding along the Strand or Cheapside with so strange and absent an air that people say he is mad. We are quoting Malkjan, page 16 and 17. William Langland. According to the critics, the name of wife was Catherine and his daughter's name was Nicolette. Encyclopedia of World Biography 2004 defines William Langland in the following words. The English poet William Langland, birth 1330, death 1400, is known as the probable author of Piers Plowman. It is an allegorical poem and a seminal text during the Middle English period, which attacks abuses in the government and the church and deplores the misery of a people without true leadership. Except for information that may be gleaned from the poem of Piers Plowman, nothing is about William Langland's life. Now, friends, William Langland and his works. William Langland represented himself as a beggar, wandering from door to door and earning some money by singing a plebeo or a dirge for those who provided him money as alms. He was also well aware of law courts and legal terminology. Now friends, the works of William Langland. William Langland is remembered today for his works like Piers, Plowman and its sequel Vita de Dawel, Dobet et Dobest, Scondamwit et Rossum. The whole work is popularly known as Piers the Plowman. It is believed that a year before his death, he composed his last poem, Richard the Redless. Friends, about Piers the Plowman. Piers the Plowman is the most representative Middle English alliterative poem that has survived over centuries. This poem is found in three different forms. Number 1, text A, which was probably written in the year 1362 AD. Text B, possibly written in the year 1377 AD. Text C, possibly written in the year 1398 AD. Now A text. Please look at the screen. A text or Vernon, poem of 1800 lines, slightly immature, work of writer's youth, contains 12 pauses or cantos, 2567 lines. Now come to text B, as you already see it on the screen, or Crowley, the best of the three, work of poets, maturity, contains 20 pauses or cantos, 7242 lines. Now, for B text of the poem lacks the lively scenes which were the sources of attraction in the A text. The poem often reminds us of mystery and morality plays of the age. In the words of Liguis and Kijamian, pauses, that is 21 in the third text, is a dramatic narrative of the mysteries of passion and the resurrection, which gives much space to dialogue, a play with magnified stage directions. Friends, now again look up on the board and see C text. Text C or Whitaker, that is 15,000 lines, somewhat prolix, work of writer's old age, contains 23 pauses or cantos, 7,357 lines. Now, friends, look at the comments made in the Encyclopedia Britannica. As per the Encyclopedia Britannica 14th edition, the A text dating from 1362 AD contains a prologue and 12 pauses or cantos, 1 to 4, the vision of the Lady Mead, 5 to 8, the vision of Piers the Plowman, 9 and 10, 11 and 12, the vision of Do Well, Do Best and Do Best, 2567 lines, and B text C 1377 edition is much longer, containing 7242 lines with additional pauses following after 11 of A, the earlier pauses being altered in various respects. The C text with 7357 lines is a version of B. All are displayed on the board. Now friends, come to the C text and let us see what is there on the screen. Divided into 23 pauses. The Vision di Petro Plowman. Number 2, Vision di Duel. Number 3, Vision di Do Bet. Number 4, Vision di Do Best. So, do bet is do better in the language of today. I hope this particular diagram will help you to understand the text well. Then now, after the textual material, let's talk about the language of Langland. Piers Plowman is the most notable alliterative poem of the age. He probably wrote in this Old English verse because it suited his political and moral purpose. The old verse was close to the soil of England and a fitting vehicle for this narration, and nationalism was primitive in virtues. But the virtues he approached were those of the feudal Europe, not of Saxon England. We quoted from Renwick, page 15. Now, friends, the influence of French and Latin on Langland. All big writers like Langland and Chaucer were using language packed with French words, because you know this was the age of the Normans. There were nearly 600 different tags or quotations in French and Latin in the three versions of Langland's Piers Plowman. French is also an essential part of the meaning in the book. Now, please enjoy the quotations from Piers and Plowman in Latin. Let me just read out a couple for your benefit. The first one: Sum rex, sum princes, neutrum fortis disempis. Like to the pause 9, intuler consume it. I think you will take your time to read it and understand it. Now, the dialect of Langland. He writes in a dialect which is a mixture of East Midland, and of South. He uses ETH, which is a sign of plural in the South, whereas EN is the sign of plural in the East Midland. J.M.D. MacJohn quotes that Langland makes his genitive singular end as in es. These plural adjectives end in e. The comparative of high is air, and the superlative hexit, both c and heo, are used for the feminine pronoun. The contractions nem, nam, nelly, nelle are used as in Chaucer, page 18. Friends, the composition of dialect and language. Some infinitives like ie or ye are common in West Midland and Southern dialects. Example: tilly, sticky, shiny. Longmen often used a singular verb like as with a plural noun. Now, friends, the alliterative meter. Piers Plowman is composed in alliterative meter. The lines of Piers Plowman are strongly accented and are composed in alliterative lines. There are at least 3 alliterative letters in the alliterative verse. These alliterative letters are called rhyme letters. There must be 2 rhyme letters in the first half, 1 on the second half. The first 2 rhyme letters are called sub, S-U-B, sub letters, and the last one is called chip letters. The accent must strike alliterative syllables, and there must be at least 3 accented words, as Milk John points out in the book, page 18. To conclude, we must understand the man Langland and his work Piers Plowman and its contribution to the age. According to W.J. Long, its tremendous appeal to justice and common honesty, its clarion call to every man, whether king, priest, noble, and laborer, to do his Christian duty, takes from it any trace of prejudice or bigotry, with which such works usually abound. So you can easily understand how the critics have assessed Langland as a contributor to the literary tradition of his own time. I hope you enjoyed this particular module very much. Thank you.
In a sommarsäsong Hans ofta was the såna I köp mig into a shroud as I köp wera inarbita as an ermite unholy of workers wenta illuida in this world wondrous to hear Bota in a majas moringa on marvena hulles ni betelle pele a faria me thokta he was weary for wandering and went med to resta under the broad banka beyond sida. And as he lay and Leoneda and looked on the waters, he slumbered in a sleeping, he swayed so Maria. Then again he met in a bell swaven, that he was in a wilderness, Worcester in a bell, where and as he beheld unto the east on here toward the sun, he saw it there on a toft trileka in market, a delpedale beneath a dungon berlina, with delpedicha and derken dreadful of sechta, a perfeld full of forfondir vel between, of all the manner of men, the main and the richer, watching and wondering as the world asketh. Some put them hame to the plough, fled and full Sildana, in Satinga and in Salringa swunken full harda, and one the pearls was stirless with glow, Donia the straven, and some put them hame to Priera, apple reladen, and the laughter incontinence of clothing common disguised, to prayerless and to penance put in harmonia, for love of our Lord levitain full striked, in offer for to have a heaven rich bliss, an anchoress and a meetest that hold in hand to hell careless. Covete not in contrary to Karen or Bota, for non le carelessly flora herrally come to place, and so much and chapere to cheven the betra, as it seemeth to erre sechta that such a man dreveth, and soma merkles to maken as monstrals honna, and get the god with their glay, gitless I tragia, but the chapels and jangleres, Jordas children, found in him fantasias and full the same madding, and abit wheat a hella wheel to watching yetha, them lusta, that poorly preacheth of him, he darely not preoven, hella, quello quital, typicolian, he is the facellis hina. Fidels and begärles fasta borta I orden, did hela bages and hela balias wärlen grateful I krommet, beneden hin på hela fora fakta åtta alla. In glotinia, god vårt går hejo to beade, and reset upp I Brabania, dis roberes knaves, släp en slagsad sol with a medera, pilgrims and palmers plachten heim together, but the such Sant Jama and Santas at Roma went and forth in here, why with money recitales, and head and lever to leave in all the hell leaf after, and mittes on an ale with o'came the staffes, went into Walsingham and heller reaches at there, great lorgers and longer with Lord the Wella to Swanka, Clothering him to copes to bjør, knauen for brethering. And some shopping hen to, the mette selv, is to have. I found the prayers, or the fæle, or dress, preaching the people, for profit of alle wombes, to sing the gospel as ein good lekker. For confettissa of coffes konstruerade illa, for mania of this maestros narren cloven hema till kinga, for mania and hella, machandia, metten together, setta charity hath be jampmon on shelf to streven lardes, mona perles an bifalla in a perle yelles, ut fulle charcha and hella hoda be together. The mosta mistelfa on molda is montinga upcasta, delle precede erbatanella, as ea presta wada, and brought to forth a bulla with bishop the sailors, and said that himself a melchta soiled in hemolla, of falsenessa and fastinga, and of valleys he broken, the lewella, men levera him well, and lekela his fecha, and coming up kneeling to kissing his bulla, que ponchera him with his brilvet and blared hair even, and rochta with his ragamon, rangus, and roches. Thus ye geveth alle god, gluttonous to helpen, and leveth it to losers that lecturely haunten, where the bishop he blessed and worth both his heirs. His cell should not be sent to save the people. It is not only the bishop that the boy preacheth, but the parish priest, and the pattern part of the silver, that the parle people of the parish should have it, that hell no wire. Personas and parisha, priestes plaineth to hele bishops, that hele parisha hath, den parle setta, the pestilence tima, to have licensa, and leva ad London to dwella, to singer there for Simonia, the selva, e sueta, der hoveder, an hundreda in hoves of silka, sejones hit semere to selven at the barra, pleden per prensa, and pondes de lola, not verlova, of ulora un lasse per le personas, der mächte spera meten de mist, una melvena hurles, dan geten o mone värre mot till monea värre sjåda. Jag salve de shoppes balda and the bachelors of Githina, become clackers of the conte the king for to save them, the darkness and danes the dignitia havena, to preach the people and the parliament of Thera, thereon lopen to London, believe of alle bishops, the baneklekkers of the king's bench, the country to skända, barons and bergères som bonda män och sol, jag såg i nattsemble, as je sjøl her i nattele, bakes botgels and gravstas monia, Wallona websterles and websterles of linen, talurs, taneles and tokeles bofta, masons minorles and money, all the craftes, dikerles and delvres, that don hele deres gilla, and drill with the voice, the longer die with the wall, savaraminna, kokkasanar, cannabis cree, and hotta pia sotta. Gotta gayas agrias, go with Dina go away, Devaneres, to him told the Samatala, with Wina of Asia, and Ween of Gascoigne, of the Rena of the Rothschild, the Rosta took the Fia, in all this is Sala, Slapinga and Seva Pisa Morl.